What drew us to Augusta was not only the Georgia tax credit, which is essential for us to be able to make movies, but also the backdrop that Augusta offers. This feels like a studio backlot because we haven't seen it in a lot of movies, so there's definitely an appeal there for filmmakers. It hasn't been overused. We were in need of a prison set, and this is probably the best prison set in the United States. There are only a few real options that aren't occupied. So this was a big selling point for us. When I came in and met with Jen in September, we did a scout, and that was probably number one on our list. But the streets, the restaurants, the infrastructure that you guys have, it's ideal for us to come here and not be stuck in traffic, going to set every day. There's a real beauty to it. So we're really happy to be here. We're thankful to be here.
So Warren, it was a great experience working with Warren and getting into Augusta. And like he said, he was most interested in the prison first. And then immediately behind the prison, there was a need that attracted him. And then, as he said, everything else just kind of fell into place. He was able to find all of the other locations that they need.
Yeah, I should say, I plan to and intend to bring more movies here. I think there's, it's a great place to make movies. When we go to Los Angeles or we make movies in Atlanta, you're dealing with all these extras, population and traffic and expensive locations, expensive housing. This town is very affordable. It's easy to commute in, great restaurants, and it feels like it's on the up, which we're really excited about. We're really excited about spending money here and helping.
Great. And I'd also like for you to hear from Lucas now. You heard from Lucas was on our tour with us, so he was able to share some of his knowledge along the way. But Lucas actually just recently filmed in Glendale, California, in a prison there. And so I asked Lucas if he would share the conversation that we already had about that jail in Glendale and how it compares to this facility. And Lucas has a lot of other great things to say as well. So let's just start there.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And yes, I work under Warren. I'm what's called the production supervisor, and we worked together on a project last year together and came back together. And I remember when he was even deciding between Atlanta or Augusta and trying to figure out how to either build a set or find a studio, and him finding these locations here is what was the final decision of why you came to a town and came to a specific place. But I recently did a film in April and May in Glendale, California, which is a very strict city to shoot in, but offers a lot of things, and it's close to Los Angeles. But they have, the Glendale police station has built a new police station next door to their police station. And so they have the old police station that has shut down, and it's very similar in that there's no plumbing, there's no electricity in that building, so you have to run all your own electric to the place and plumbing, but it keeps the place manageable for the city. And they were also talking about tearing it down, and interestingly, it's even more difficult because it's next door to the active police station and active jail and the courthouse. So it's on the same property. The parking lot is connected there. The land is connected there. But they have intentionally caused it to be one of their main locations that they have kept open for filming. So we rented it, and it is booked out, for the whole year now. Their time is just booked. But we rented that location, and there's jails and courthouses and offices, and then parking structures, and then vehicles that are connected to it. But I know that the city council there, I'd be happy to connect you with them and how they do it, and the woman that runs that. You can find out actual numbers of a longer term experience of having done that. But I think we spent $70,000 or $80,000 just renting that for an 8-day spread, and obviously every variable matters, but in the same way that you have to have officers there, you also, anytime you're using weapons, you employ more people, not only on the streets having officers, but having officers with you on sets, and so you're always integrating the law enforcement and the city, and we had to have part of the city there with us. But we worked with the mayor there as well, who helped us rent the location and was a part of it. So it always tends to link the city, different than when we rent a grocery store or when we went to rent a house, which is a neat aspect to it. And this jail is 10 times more, has 10 times more options, just with the whole courthouse being in there, the property that it's on, the land, and the fact that I don't think I've even seen all of it, but the law enforcement offices, there's so much in there that could even not be a jail. It definitely feels like what a studio would have as a sound stage, where there's floors, and each of those floors, like Mark mentioned, one could even be turned into a hospital. But beyond that, I mean, it seems like there's a couple levels that I haven't seen that are levels that it could be a studio. It could be some form of studio, and you know, I think it's worth looking into seeing what the cleanup is. I don't know the levels of, you know, I know some areas can't be used for basement, but is it worth the investment to fix it up a little bit because of the structure that's there? That authenticity of the bricks, of the real glass walls, of the metal within that is, you can use a set more, and you're more attracted to do that than build a set on a soundstage, a jail set that wouldn't have as much authenticity.
Yeah, no, I think this jail set is probably one of the biggest assets for the movie business in Augusta. Just think if a TV series got picked up that wanted to shoot here and was here for 6 months out of the year, you know, for 5 years in a row, spending millions of dollars, it impacts everybody in town.
And that's one of the things I was going to say. Is I went through, Warren and I talked about it, and he asked me, you know, what do we have on local crew base? So we you know, reached out to pretty much everybody that's worked here, and I went through the list and counted, and I think we are at 72% local crew. So 40 local employees that live here in this area are working on this film. That doesn't include the background or any of the day player actors or anything like that. That's just 40 crew members that live here, pay taxes here, they buy all their groceries, they go shopping, and you know, that's a lot of support that's going back out.
And since it might not come back to me, I just want to close with a neat fact that in the office structure or the office building that we got, I don't know how we did it so quick, but Mark partnered with a local art studio.
Oh yeah, 4
And I think Warren said something in a side comment about the bare walls. And when we came back over the weekend, there's, I think, over 100 paintings hanging in every hallway and office of local artists that have their tag, how much their painting is, their name, and it surrounds us.
Our office is an Augusta art gallery.
Yeah.
It is. It's
Local
amazing.
artists came in and just hung it full
Every
of art.
single-
And the great news is people are buying it.
Yeah,
People
so
are
then
buying
just
their
for a
art.
month, you're looking at
Yeah.
this artwork that's, you know, and they're not $50.
Yeah.
No,
$2,000
no, I bought a
art
$300
pieces.
I bought a $350 piece
Yeah.
myself.
But it's just neat to tie in the arts and then thinking in that way, how to build off of those type of ideas, how to integrate any form of art or culture or experience to tie in the community.
That's one of the neat things about film is literally a conglomeration of every art form you can imagine, because we have costumers, so you need to have all of those. We have makeup artists, we have sound design, we have visual effects artists, we have scenic painters, we have obviously the film crew. Any form of art that you can imagine goes in. These artists all have to come together to make a film. So it really does support the arts community.
Commissioners, do you have any questions right now for Lucas or for Warren or Mark? We have a few other things that we want to talk about too, but definitely want to give you an opportunity to ask a few questions of them right now.
Jennifer, I don't have a question, but I just have a comment. You know, I support the Arts Council. I try to be supportive of the film industry. But I think that what we're doing today, we should have done couple of months ago. I don't know how many of you are aware, but we have made a commitment to Judge Brown to demolish this facility and have it a facility that will address the needs of the youth in this area. I mean, our children some of our children are running wild. Being a former employee of juvenile court, I've heard the cries from parents saying that I want help, I need help with my child. I have gone to the different schools and I have seen how some of our kids are out of control. And Judge Brown is very aware of that. And what he wants to do is stop the pipeline to prison. And he saw this facility as an opportunity to do that. And I support Judge Brown. I think that if we could come up with, have a conversation with Judge Brown, let him be aware of the conversation that we had today, and get input from him on how we should proceed with this building. I think the final decision as to what will happen to this facility is gonna be up to the commission. But because I believe that we have made a commitment to juvenile court, unless we come up with a plan B, I'm gonna stick, and this is just me, I'm gonna stick to the commitment that I made. So at some point in time, I would like to see a conversation held with Judge Brown.
I have a question, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is the plan to literally demolish the jail and get rid of it and then rebuild?
Rebuild a facility, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, as an outsider, I think there's a win-win, and I appreciate the priority is working with the children. That's a priority, right? So you
Yes.
guys are right on the right track there. But as an outsider, I've driven around a lot scouting locations, and from what I've seen, Augusta has a ton of possibility in real estate. Why not pick another spot? Leave this prison here, pick another spot, build the space for the youth, and then it's a win-win for everybody.
I agree, that's an option.
That seems like a no-brainer to me.
Okay, well,
I mean, that's just from an outside perspective.
I think Commissioner Garrett actually was ready to make a statement or a question there.
Sean wants to respond to that. I was on a different topic.
Yeah, so I agree that we've pledged to Judge Brown, but I don't necessarily agree that we've pledged to this facility because we didn't move forward with that. I believe that we do need to do something. For me, the bigger issue is the fact that it was on SPLOST and the voters approved it for $1.5 million to demolish it. And so there is where I feel our allegiance has to be of what they want us to do. Now, my question is, what would be the life of a facility like this? Because right now, to be honest with you, this is in procurement. It could be down in the next 90, 120 days, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see as the life of this facility if we were to keep it at its current state, 3 to 5 years?
And that's kind
No,
of where I
I
was
think
going
it's
with
much
my
longer
comments.
than that, but I do think there, you probably take that 1.5 and use some of those funds to improve this facility.
Is-
if
well,
you're gonna keep it.
And I guess to kind of follow up Sean, is the reason we asked that is because it's been sitting empty. How long has it been empty? 6 years?
January will be 6 years.
Yeah, but
So-
has it been sold as a
Well, that's
as
what
a
I'm
set?
getting. That's what I'm
Yeah.
getting at. Obviously, people are now finding out about it.
Mhm.
So, in the near future, what kind of use are you seeing coming?
I think, from my experience, I've made 35, 36 movies, so I've made a lot of movies, and I've worked in a lot of secondary cities, we call them smaller markets. And I've seen what happens when there's a state incentive and that one or two film crews discover an area, let's say, and then the word spreads. Right now, I'm gonna leave here with a stronger Augusta-based crew than when I got here. So that's good. That's a good thing, and that's not easily done. It takes guys like us to come in and, you know, hold our breath a little bit, because it is a little more work for me when we don't know how much crew's here locally. I'm incentivized to hire local. I can't afford to put my whole crew up, right, on a small budget. So I find guys like Mark Crump who hold my hand a little bit and walk me through and show me, wow, there is a crew here. And then there's a secondary or third layer that wants to learn, so we employ them as well. To answer your question, I think this thing could blossom here. And I think having this set, it's a huge selling tool for you. For Hollywood, Hollywood wants towns like this that haven't been over-photographed, right? You've got a lot going for it.
And you mentioned that earlier when you were talking about, you know, the uses of the gel and the fact that it hasn't been overused. At what point will it become overused?
Well, I think these little movies, it doesn't become overused.
They're still
because
making movies in Hollywood.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but to answer your
Yeah.
question, you know, the big thing is you're holding out for like this big, guys like us come through, we help build a reputation of the prison set, but then you get like an HBO series, or you get a big network series. And that could mean a lot of money, not just for this prison, but for the town.
Mm-hmm.
We're spending money at the dry cleaner, we're renting cars, we're hotels, we're going out to eat every single night we're here. I've been here 6 weeks already. I've eaten at every restaurant. So we're spending money, you know?
That's really helpful. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd just like to share just to share with you. Something that I do, and I don't know if this is a fix, and I don't think we could imagine the ripple effects of
Sorry.
no problem, of everything that you are talking about. And the juveniles, just to share with you one aspect of my life with film, I work with two organizations. One's called Inside Out Writers, and one is called the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. And we train guys who are former incarcerated, and or while they're in prison. So a lot of juvenile halls, I was part of a documentary called They Call Us Monsters that was youth movies inside. And we trained them in writing and filmmaking and how to write to process their lives and how to understand their feelings and their emotions and have a different outlet than destruction or chaos. And I wonder if there's a way for me to A, share with you and connect with you on these organizations, and B, how, I don't even know what type of facility you're talking about, whether you're talking about lockdown or just a place for youth that are not locked up. But just because they're different environments, so I don't know what they were talking about building. But that is a major potential as well, because the film industry does allow for a little more flexible jobs, less need for certain education through school systems, but education in skill sets, which is a fantastic way of bringing guys up. So my last set in Glendale, I had 13 guys who were former incarcerated on my set, and we even, do an article about that. There was 270 years represented that were served time, but they're all guys that have trained, and not just guys at the production assistant level, but running companies. So the head of the security company, the data team, the craft service company, and company heads that have guys under them. And we found that when you train guys on the inside that are coming out in skill sets and in creative arts, now they have purpose and focus, and that's all that they were lacking for a short time in their lives, and now they're off being incredible people like we all have the chance to do.
My objective is to leave here with a win-win for the film industry and a win-win for the Department of Juvenile Justice.
Yeah.
What that win-win consists of right now, I don't know.
I don't either,
but
but I wanted to share with you that
yeah.
those types of things are out there, and I could share with you more about those organizations in Los Angeles.
We have 2 individuals on our team here that were formerly incarcerated, and they're back and they're doing fabulous. They're thriving on our set.
We, Commissioner Ben was on. That was walked into that one. Commissioner Swan, please go ahead.
In a perfect world, they could be torn out in a matter of days, like Mr. Benoit said, we've made a commitment in terms of building a juvenile court system. Probably this would go from the SPLOST perspective to actually build. Demolition is one thing, but to actually get approved to build it would probably be on the SPLOST, which will probably be in November, I think, if everything goes well. So my question would be, if it wasn't considered to be delayed, to take a look at what you're asking, what would be an appropriate timeline that you say, let us look at it for a year and a half, or whatever, knowing that the SPLOST, because we're gonna have to build a jail, a juvenile court system, regardless, wherever that leads at. But to leave the facility standing, which could very well, like my colleague said, be down or be gone, when you come back in 6 months, you won't even know it was there. So, from that perspective, what is the timeline, if you all ought to consider what kind of timeline before you demolish it?
Well, what I would
To
say.
give us more time to sink our teeth in it from a broader perspective.
Commissioner Hassan, would you also let me introduce real quickly so that they could chime into that, our Film Augusta Advisory Panel? There's a number of them in the room. And our Film Augusta Advisory Panel was created in August, so that these are local industry professionals who are advising Film Augusta and also hearing about the direction that we're trying to go. This actually bubbled up some from the Film Augusta Advisory Panel. We seated them in August, and that was also when we were beginning to see a number of productions have interest in this. So I would love for Warren, Lucas, Mark, and even the Film Advisory Panel members, if you would just quickly introduce yourself, and then maybe we can talk to that. How long would we like to have it around?
I would just like to point out real quickly that we have, as you said, the jail has now only been in use this year. I have been working to market film with a lot of these guys for the last 5 years to bring films here. Nothing, I mean, we have locations, and I likened it to Payless shoe stores. We have a lot of Payless shoe stores. Hey, that's a neat spot, that's a neat spot, that's a neat spot. This jail, once it got out, it became our box store. It became our Walmart. All of our other ancillary locations, they all go, hey, these are great locations too, thank God they have them. But that is why they're coming here, it's because of that Walmart. So, now that we started this year, man, it's 4 in a year right now, and there are she can attest to that, there are other productions that we can talk about that are looking at the jail. A year and a half, I don't know.
I don't think word has gotten out yet.
No,
But I think it's happening.
We
Yeah.
really only were able to get into the facility to allow filming in January of this year. And it was quite some work to allow us to get in, but it came with the promise that there was one that actually shot in the summer of this year that was trying to get in, and so we tried our best to move heaven and earth, and then as soon as that one shot, we've had to move on. But we do have 4 crew members who are members of our panel, and they also have to skip out. So can I get them to quickly introduce themselves? And Terrence is one of them, so we'll start with Terrence.
So just quickly, I'm Terrence Williams. Most of you guys know me. I've worked with most of you guys. So just on a quick note, I want you guys to know that what you do or what can be helped to make this jail something profitable for everyone is that, for example, I got an 18-year-old on my team right now, straight out of high school, making $200 a day. That is important to this community for us to stop losing our future filmmakers to other cities. My son, 25 years old, is in Texas right now because he could not find work here. I want my son to stay home to grow with us in this community, but I understand he has a life of his own that he has to. I have another one that lives in Atlanta right now. Not a child, but someone I watched graduate from Payne College, wanted to stay here, grow with me and others, that they can't do that because we don't have the structure to have what we need to make films, and also that boils down to us losing our high schoolers, graduates from college, also losing businesses, because believe it or not, we do have the smaller businesses that support the film industry as well. So it's not just us being us, it's all about we as Augustans, not just you know, this one filmmaker or this one production come in, and then we sitting around looking like, okay, what we gonna do now? We should be having a wealth of film coming here, so that will support the entire community. I don't mean just over here on Gordon Highway or over on Highland Avenue. It's for everyone, because believe it or not, you still have even your regular people say, hey, I want to be an extra. Extras get paid as well. So it ain't like just people just making stuff for free. But again, anything you can do to help our children, that's my main concern is our children. Because right now, what's in this room is pioneers.